Awesome, great, glorious day it is. This is the day the Lord has made, and indeed we shall rejoice and be glad in it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another exciting, informative episode of the Umubanga podcast, where we aim to inform, transform, as well as inspire. Ladies and gentlemen, I know for some of us who are present on social media, like those of us who are loud, you would have seen that the past few months, few weeks, there's been like a massive rise of child sexual abuse, a massive rise of a lot of sexual-related crimes which are affecting the nation. And it's sad, it's appalling, it's everything bad and terrible. And it'll be a disservice for us who have these platforms, these spaces, to not be able to talk about these things, because these are things affecting us. Look, these are people who are close to us. These are people, this could be your child, my sister, my brother. Like any person is affected by this great ill which is affecting our nation. And so today, ladies and gentlemen, I have a special guest. Our guest today is a prolific, family-centered wife. Family values at the core. Who is a legal practitioner, advocate of the High Court for Zambia. Her life centers around fighting for the rights of children with respect to safeguarding policies and child protection. She's currently an associate of FB Nanguziambo and Associates. She's also director liaison, depending with where you went to school, for Kwima Books on body safety, and also a legal consultant and trainer under Restored Hope Zambia. She wears so many hats, but all centered around protection of children from sexual-related crimes. Ladies and gentlemen, put your virtual hands together, even as we welcome Rabecca Makwele Mulenga, Mrs. Mulenga.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm okay. How are you doing?
Very well, thanks. I know the intro started off sad because of what's happening around Zambia and all the many. I think each and every time you wake up, like when you switch onto your socials, you find so-and-so did this, so-and-so did this, so-and-so did this. And
it's so painful.
Yeah.
It's not the Zambia we asked for. It's not the Zambia we know. Mm-hmm. It's basically something that has just changed the trajectory of how we look at life. Mm-hmm. There's so much going on, and I believe many of us are hurt. Some of us are even wondering where this is coming from. It's like, it's becoming a cancer, Umubanga. Every day, there's something new that is going on. It's either sodomy, it's defilement, but whatever the case. Now, imagine those are just reported cases. Now, look around for those that have not even been reported. They're under the carpet, swept, because maybe it involved a relation. It's a sad day for Zambia. It is.
Definitely. But anyways, even before we dive into that, but walk us through your background. Who is Rabecca Makwele Mulenga?
Okay. The intro was perfect. But anyway, I'm Rabecca Makwele Mulenga. And of course, I'm a lawyer and a child rights activist, a legal practitioner, if you would like. I am someone who's very passionate about the legal side of things, and especially with regards to children. But first of all, I am a girl in a family of 10. My mom is still alive, and I have a husband, and I have a family that supports me in what I do. And then also I've had an opportunity to work with different NGOs, especially before I became a practitioner, I was with the NGO sector. So I worked with women and law in development in Africa. And I think basically that's where I got the push really. Of course, I had the passion, but that's where I really dealt with serious issues with regards GBV and child marriages. So I worked with them for a while. I was part of the Access to Justice program, and then I transitioned to WILSA, Women and Law in Southern Africa, and I think that's where I also did most of my work, but they really were more biased to issues to do with women as opposed to children. So I am somebody who has just built a life around working with women or children until I transitioned into a legal practitioner that I am now, working as an associate, dealing with different cases, but of course, my heart still beats for issues to do with family. So you will discover that most of the cases that I deal with at the law firm are family-centered, issues to do with family custody, in estate issues, do with probate. That's basically what I deal with. But in a nutshell, I work around women and children.
Awesome. So look, you're a child rights activist, and you mentioned that the different organizations you worked with. But really, what gave that push to really go into and dealing with these child sexual-related crimes? Really?
That's $1 million question, because I don't even know how to respond to it, because I actually find myself asking the same question to say, why children? But do you ever believe in a calling? I would actually put it as a calling, because I don't think it's beyond a career. For me, fighting for children started even before I became a lawyer. I think I started this as far as the time I was in grade 12. I felt the need to protect children. Not that I wasn't protected as a child, but I feel they're the weakest that you'd actually deal with. So dealing with children, especially with sexual-related cases, came in as a bit of a push and a passion when I actually worked with these NGOs also. The passion was there, but that was after dealing with issues where I saw issues would go unreported. I remember being on radio once, it should be a program on a youth program, and then somebody called in and said there was a girl that was exchanged, married off at a very young age. So, for me, it has all been built around the life I've been exposed to. I've seen girls that have gone through a lot. I've seen friends that never had an opportunity to push their lives because maybe they were married off too early. But initially, I think the passion, I don't know, let's just call it a calling, because if you ask me how it came and how I got here, it's really hard to explain. But whenever I saw a child crying, it would be a burden for me. Like, my heart would just not be there. It would just not be there.
Interesting. Look, as I said in the introduction, that the past few weeks, we've seen like a massive rise of sexual-related crimes. It's even hard to name them and all, because they are terrible, and majority of them are perpetrated by men, and they're the ones doing all these vile things. Question is this happening now, or there's just been like a massive rise of people reporting now?
I think people are now more aware, and they realize the importance of actually reporting these cases. It will be immaterial, or it will be immature of us to actually state that these cases are happening now. So for them to mushroom now, they have been happening before, but probably people didn't feel the essence to actually report. So like I stated earlier, imagine these are just reported cases. So we have people that still don't feel the need to actually report these matters. Some do not just know, maybe it's issues of illiteracy, because Umubanga, look, we're looking at things that are happening in Lusaka.
Yes.
Imagine in the rural areas, people who don't even have access to maybe a person who would actually explain to them that actually this is actually a crime, or this is an offense. So I think people have just risen up to the occasion. People are now beginning to report. And I think the courage came in because, look, I was looking at the case of the 7-year-old, the cancer patient, and how it happened. Before then, people wouldn't care. But this time around, the people that were inside actually did take notice that this person kept on going with the child, bathing the child at an awkward hour, and there would always be this noise. Before then, people didn't care. It's like, I'm here for my business, that's just it. But I think we're beginning to build back the Ubuntu that we had before, where a child of a friend is my child as well, and raising a child is like a societal kind of a thing. So I think people have just gotten to a point where they feel enough is enough, and they think it's time to report. So we'll continue to see more reports. Like just today, I saw another one of sodomy. A boy has been sodomized. people,
Actually, later in the day, there was like, I think a grade 9 pupil, they wrote it in such a way that a grade 9 pupil impregnated
a teacher. But now, if you look at it, there's issues there to do with age.
Yeah.
So the woman is pregnant, but the act in itself is indecent assault on a male child because the boy is below the certain age. So defilement cuts across. It doesn't matter whether the boy consented, the law is clear. So these are the issues that are going on and around us, and you'll discover that a lot of people now are beginning to report. Before then, my biggest challenge dealing with these issues, even when I was at National Prosecution Authority as an intern, some of the issues that I feel we had as a problem was having to do with sexual-related cases, but involving a relation.
Yes.
I remember once we had gone for a matter, and one of the key witnesses was actually the mother to the girl, and the mother to the girl became a hostile witness and just went before court and said she did not see anything. She did not see, yet she was the first witness that actually saw the whole act. So I think people now are beginning to rise to the occasion. I think people are ready to speak out, and I think this injustice has been going on for a long time, and now people feel the need to actually talk about it.
So, you speaking on the mother, the matter which you had, and the mother becoming a hostile witness, and I guess we still see a lot of these things where, like,
It's happening.
parents, brothers, sisters are hiding all these things.
Yes.
Because how do we deal with this? How do we send the message to say this is incest, this is wrong, which is because some you'd hear the matter goes to court and they decide to drop off because, oh no, who will keep us?
Yes.
Stuff like that.
That's been the order of the day. The issue here is dependency. So you discover most of the perpetrators are actually people that are taking care of the children or the families. So the earlier example I gave, where the woman became a hostile witness, was because the person who was the perpetrator was actually the husband to the woman, but the stepfather to the girl. So you see, she looked at all those factors and said, okay, if this person is behind bars, who will take care of us? But not looking at the kind of harm and trauma that the girl is actually going to go through. She didn't care whatsoever what would happen to the child. All she looked at was, this is the person who provides for us, and this is how we're going to go about it. If you ask VSU, even just not sexual-related cases, let's just talk about GBV, for example. You discover today people are reporting, tomorrow she'll come back and cry, muchoseni. Because what are we going to eat tomorrow? I remember getting on a bus once, and there's a woman who had a broken hand. And then I remember I had headsets on, and somebody said, Mami Mvelan, this woman is saying she can't report. And she says, Man, I should report, how will I eat tomorrow? My husband did this to me, but I can't. So this is the same situation that is happening with regards to children. Now remember, we're dealing with kids that have issues of trauma, kids that have gone through so much that they cannot report on their own. So these kids can only report through a next of kin or next of friend. So in this case, they'll rely on you to report on their behalf, because how can a child, even the Children's Code Act 2022 is very clear on the issue of reporting. When a child goes through that, they will need someone like you, because a child on their own may not be a very compellable witness before courts. So it is important that whatever statement they will have is corroborated. But in this case, they will need you. But if you are not going to help a child, where will the case go? Nowhere. That's what's been happening.
Interesting. So in an instance when a matter is reported and it was reported at first, even the guardian considered to say, okay, I saw this and then later on they decide to withdraw. And are there ways to mitigate that, where if there's actual proof, even hospital records show that this happened, and DNA, I don't know if in Zambia we do DNA and stuff like that.
We do.
If they are able to trace and say, okay, this happened and this person did it. So can the state or the people in charge, say the different organizations which represent children and all, be able to take it up and still prosecute the...
Yes, it is possible. Other than the actual testimony, we have other forms of evidence that can be adduced before the courts of law. For example, the medical report, like you earlier indicated. We also have issues of DNA, so issue of test sample. if you go before the courts of law, there are other things that will actually help in trying to get to a certain position of what judgment must be given. So if we look at a situation, let me give you a practical example. A girl child has been abused, maybe she's 10 years old. So maybe the age that looks fair, 10 years, let's say 5 years old. Of course, we can't really rely on the testimony. But what is now getting to a better position is that now the Children's Code Act has introduced the social welfare officer. Okay. So this person gets to speak to the child before, gets the child ready, gets the testimony, and the person gets to speak on behalf of the child. So even the cross-examination and the questions will be on that same social welfare officer. Before, it wasn't like that. So now, getting to the point that you asked to say, is it possible to go ahead? Yes, it is possible, because a social welfare officer can actually give a psychological report. So based on their report, that can be used to corroborate. The medical report can also be added, and there could even be somebody who was just a different person who just saw this ordeal. So it is possible. But the question that you asked is if people withdraw. Yes. Now, there's a difference at a police level where when a matter goes to NPA, the National Prosecution Authority, you cannot withdraw it, because by then the state takes over.
So, okay, in an instance where somebody reports a rape case to the police before they take it to the National Prosecution Office,
most of the things fall off because sometimes you discover there was no medical report. So it is not as good enough as a case to take before the courts of law. So sometimes that happens a lot, actually. If you interview a police officer, they would tell you that matters start and then the next thing they just go quiet. And sometimes matters fall off because the police don't do a good job. So it is possible that somebody can report and withdraw. Now remember that you can't proceed without having all that put together. You need somebody to push the agenda. So if at least the victim is willing to push that far, and then the state takes over, then from there, maybe a very, very reasonable verdict will be given in favor of the victim. But in a case where there's no cooperation from the victim, they don't even want to report, maybe they were just forced to report. And some of the issues that I always bring out on my page is that somebody discovers there's an abuse that just happened. Maybe a child has been defiled. Their first thought of instance is, let me bath the child first. They even change the underwear the child was wearing, even the evidence that is needed for us even just to have the sample, all that is done. So sometimes you discover that such a case is really hard to prove. But of course, when they go to the hospital, they can check the child and all that. So there's so many issues around sexual-related cases that need total cooperation from the start.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. So we spoke on. I know these matters happen like in all households and all, well, and a lot of people shun or don't want to report these because these are taboos. No, you will embarrass our family.
Right.
On a Bwanjim community and all. And another aspect I bring in is we saw, I think, a few days ago of a pastor who raped a girl. And the parents handed over the child to say, oh, he's our spiritual leader.
You see.
To offer guidance and all, and that happens. We haven't heard so much in terms of abuse in the church because most of it is closed up, it's locked up.
Right.
No, we'll take it under disciplinary hearing and all. So how are ways in which the church, the members of the church who are preview, because I know majority of them are preview to see, okay, our pastor or our spiritual leader is doing all these vile things.
Is a predator. So number one, I like the fact that now we're going into the church. I feel the church has a lot of work to do. Yeah. So I'm fortunate enough to sit as a consultant legal for Restored Hope Zambia. So this organization basically deals with abuse in the church. And I think just recently we had a workshop and a training for law enforcement officers. And then one of the things that we've really been pushing is the agenda to see how to deal with trauma-induced kind of cases around the church. So a practical example is what you just gave, to say a girl child was handed over and this blah, 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 this happened. But now, The issue here is not that people do not know. People actually do know in the church that this person is a predator. This person actually abuses children. This one is somebody who is an abuser from the beginning. But the issue that we have here is the connotation of saying this one is a man of God. This is a man of God. I can't report him in relation to whatever because the church maybe will go into disrepute. But look at another pastor. I know there's a prominent pastor or bishop who was reported.
Yeah.
But the issue here is not that people don't want to report. The issue here is that people worship pastors. And when they worship those pastors, and some people actually have been manipulated to a point where they've been told, touch not the anointed. Do my prophets no harm. But that has nothing to do with the life of a human being. Yeah. Because we're dealing with lives here. We're dealing with people, a child that will be traumatized for a long time. That can actually affect their mental health. I don't care whether you're a pastor. I don't care whether you're a bishop. You abuse a child and I know about it, I'll report you. Because at the end of the day, it's a life we're actually trying to prevent. We're trying to protect a life. So this happens in the church and people don't want to speak up because people feel it is taboo. Issues of GBV are never spoken about in church. Right now, only a few people in church, I can guarantee you, the past weeks with all these things going on, Sunday service, no one spoke about it. Yeah. Nobody even mentioned to say, make sure your kids are safe, there's this going on. Nobody bothers. Because the very people that are tithing, the very people that they believe in, the very people that are always helping the church are the abusers. So how then do you follow them and tell them that stop abusing your wife or your children? Muzagwida Pafand. So now we need to have independent churches that are able to speak out. The wrong is a wrong. So a lot of children are manipulated. It's easy for people to be manipulated in the church, especially that pastors have a certain level of influence. You know that influence and manipulation comes from levels. Yeah. So there are people that have levels of influence. Church, the pastor, ministers, all these people have a certain level of manipulation. So if me, I'm a vulnerable girl and all I know is a pastor, because you know what these people do? First, they begin to groom you. Mm-hmm. They groom you. But Rabecca, Kasmo Rabecca in church, you sing so well. I like how you sing. So now Rabecca, let me bring you closer. Now I want you to be coming to the pastor's office. They don't even do this in public. I have to be in the pastor's office behind to make sure. So he begins to groom me. Guess what? I begin to believe that this is the only person that cares about me. Mm-hmm. And then the next thing they also do is try and remove you from the rest. So they do a part where now they begin to seclude you. So you begin to be isolated. The only person you can rely on is Umubanga, the pastor. So by the time they are striking, you start blaming yourself. It's me. Why did I go there? But no, this guy groomed you. This abuser took advantage of a little girl. Yep. This is happening in the church behind closed doors, and nobody's talking about it. I can guarantee you the past weeks, only a few pastors talked about it. Fortunate enough at my church, at least the pastor was preaching at least they did make caution. Let's pray against this spirit. But we should go beyond praying. Let's report. And also, let the church also have certain areas that would deal with children. Why do I say so? I'm going to go stretch a little bit because I think it's important. I love this part of the church because you know I'm a church girl. So I feel the church must also introduce offices that deal with kids, with girl children, that they can really open up like guidance classes, sort of. Remember that in school we had those counseling and guidance classes. In the church, we need that. Let it not just be Sunday in, Sunday out. You're done with church, you go home, we don't care. Some children cannot open up to their own parents at home because they have no relationship. But there's some children that are willing to talk about it to a pastor, sometimes even just to women that can really, really listen. They're Sunday school teachers and whatnot. That must be implemented in the church. Let's have an avenue where young people can come, children can come and talk about their ordeal. It may not be sexual-related issues, but maybe just other things that they're battling with. It could be bullying. A lot of kids are being bullied. A second thing I would recommend for the church is that the church must now begin to implement the child safeguarding policy. Mm-hmm. Let it be everywhere in the church. Do you even know the Sunday school teacher? Do you know where they come from? The worst place that you can find all sorts of demons and all sorts of people is in the church.
Yeah. And actually, do we even do background checks?
We don't do that. This is what I've been advocating for. You don't even know who the Sunday school teacher is. You don't even know he's a rapist.
Actually, just background checks on each and every person.
And we don't do that as a church. What we do is that, oh, sister so has just come to take over and help us. Oh, she's so committed. Oh, brother Ndandan is committed to the kids. You don't even know what he's doing. Because even just dangling certain things in front of a child is already a form of abuse. Because there are men who are sick like that. They'll use a little girl, put her in front, and start doing the act in front of a child. This child will be so traumatized that they don't even want to talk about it. So the church needs to have background check. Let's check the criminal records. You might find somebody who just served a sentence.
But do we have the mechanisms to be able to check?
Oh, serious churches should. We have no choice. Because if we have big churches like SDA, like the UCZ, we have Miracle Life, we have all these big churches, I think we have the capacity. Let's do fingerprints. Easy. You want to come and join my church? I'm your pastor, and you want to be handling the kids? Let's do the fingerprints. Then from there, we'll be able to tell what kind of a person. Let's also know where you come from. Who are your parents? Who are the people you associate with? You discover that a lot of things it will help the children be safe, even in the church space. Because study shows that these things that are going on now, the abuse that goes on with children related to sexual or whatever, usually around where the kids are found, church, school, and homes. So we can't just ignore. These are things that are really serious, and we must really pay attention to it.
I don't know if the government as well does those background checks.
That's the other issue as well. So other than the church...
Actually, we remember, I think a few weeks ago, we had that incident at Minasoko Hospital.
You see? Where an intern doctor does that. So this shows that we are so... We gloss over important things. For me, for a church not to do that, or a hospital, a big institution, let's just give an example of UTH. How do you allow a man to be a bedsider to a girl? Who asked the questions? Yeah. Who was supposed to follow up and find out where is the mother of this child?
But then, look, somebody is 7 and the father is... That's why, like, it brings in where, like, the safe spaces are not the safe spaces, which...
Guess what? I love one thing about what I do, my advocacy as director liaison for Kwima Books on body safety. Yeah. There's something that we talk about. Lady Justice Shonga, by the way, is the owner and the author of those books. There's one thing that she emphasizes on. She speaks on how kids must be able to know privacy and what level. Because even if a child is 3 years old or 4 years old, they must have their privacy. So one thing that we're trying to advocate in those books is that kids must begin to realize their safe space. So privacy is one of them. How can an older man be bathing a girl who's 7? You know, girls nowadays have anatomy that they grow fast. So the issue is, even if you are the father of this child, who did they even ask where the mother was, or even a sister who could take care of the child? So I can guarantee you nobody bothered. Nobody bothered. And this is the order of the day, every single day. Even just at the malls, our kids are all over. We don't even know who's there, who's not there. What if, these things don't even need hours. It's just seconds the child is abused. Are we making sure that the kids are safe everywhere? You find there's nothing like that. Only organizations like UNICEF have those policies implemented. Other places don't care because you feel Zambia is safe, but it's no longer safe anymore. We need people to really push this agenda. And if we're not going to speak out, who's going to speak out?
Interesting. I know for those watching will be like, oh, there's a bias so much on the girl child. But we've seen this as well, like the mushrooming sodomy cases, which are now coming out. Because I do understand that these things are happening, but then people are not reporting or bringing them out. I think in order for you to see where the state of the nation is that when something happens, just read the comments and then you just be like, okay, we have a lot of messed up people.
Yeah.
We actually have a lot of predators.
A lot of them. It's really a shame. I'm not leaving out the boy child. For me, I deal with kids, children, whether you're a boy or a girl. I think boys also are victims. I know they are victims sometimes. And I think one thing that we have not done well in our parenting stage is that we've taught the boys to be so strong, not to cry, not even talk about. A lot of boys, I think I've had a conversation with a friend who's male, and he told me how the maid used to take advantage of him when he was a little boy. Not that she really did the penetration, but she would play with the private part, which already is indecent assault. But these are some of the issues that we have not done well in our parenting stage. We've taught our boys to be so strong that the boys cannot even report some of these abuses. Have you ever heard of cases where a man has gone to report even just GBV? It's rare. So it's the same situation even now.
That stigma where police
how can your wife beat you up? It's the same situation with the boys. The boys are victims. Nowadays, it's even worse now in boarding schools. But the only problem that we have is that the boys don't want to speak out. So maybe this goes out to the parents. Let's allow the kids, let's allow them to be kids. Let's not make them feel that you're weak if you cry. I love Ebo Tung when he said that Mama Malida. You know, all these issues around boys, trying to make them strong. You know, it's now that boys are really coming out. And I love it. So we need more boys to speak out, to say, I was a victim of abuse and this is how I overcame. Because that's why we have messed up men. We have messed up men who are now taking advantage. You think what they play with all those things in the house, sex toys and whatnot, it's because some of them are victims of abuse by older women. So these are some of the issues. Men do not handle their emotions too well because when they were young, they never got a chance to really heal from what they went through. And sometimes the boys don't even know they're being abused. It's now that they know because of the sodomy part. But before, a woman would just take advantage of a small boy and he wouldn't know he's being abused.
Actually, on the case of
the teacher,
the boy, most of the comments there was like, oh, and he draw, manja.
Exactly.
Like, you're just like, okay, guys, like, this is bad. It's bad. There's nothing. There are no two ways about it.
It's really sad. Even the law is not very helpful because it states that rape is about a female. So you discover that a man can't be raped. So these are some of the issues that we really need to look into.
In a case, so a man, somebody over 18 cannot be raped, right?
Yes.
But somebody under 18.
Yes, definitely there because there's defilement that comes in. Okay. But now the issue here is that for a man it is considered there's never like, but we should also look at the thing that maybe it could be involuntary erection, but they say he responded, you understand, eh? Yeah. So, but a lot of men have not really been protected, but boys really need our help now because we have men that are messed up, broken men that become equals to broken husbands and then now broken leaders. Yeah, because nobody really addressed their concerns, nobody really addressed the trauma that they went through. But it's time for men and boys to just start speaking out. Parents maybe should emphasize more and speak to your kids. Get to know what's going on. Apart from the bullying in boarding schools, what else? The boy could be a victim of sodomy. If you've noticed, even the cases are not even no longer looking at an older person. You find that it's almost the same age.
The other one was at a high school.
You find that they're also juveniles. They'll find that they're also young. So you discover that this thing is because nobody is talking. And also the exposure to these things they are watching now. The other day I was told that SpongeBob now and Patrick are dating, the cartoon. Now imagine if this is happening, what are our kids watching?
Yeah.
You understand?
I think I know of Peppa Pig.
You see? Yeah. So all that is really contaminating the whole the minds of the kids. So now a boy who's 17 years old feels the only way to relieve is to go and do the same to a small boy. Because maybe he was a victim as well. When he was young, they used to do the same to him. So this circle won't stop until we get rid of this cancer completely.
Something has just popped up. So some of the reports in terms of like the rape cases, you hear Naenda Kunganga, the witch doctor told me to say if I sleep with my child, I'll be able to. I think the cancer one was like should get healed or something. Or if I do this, I'll become rich and all. Now look, these Nganga quote unquote is a spiritual leader.
Yes, he is.
Yes, and he's giving that. But now we only get to see that most of the times the law only applies to the person who did the act and not the person who has perpetuated the act.
I think for me, my proposal would be let them become accomplices because you discover that even these same ngangas just manipulate people. So you discover, I remember somebody was saying, how I did this, I don't understand because I think I was manipulated to do this because how can I do this to my own child? So for me, my proposal would first of all, let's ban these people that actually are doing these medicinal things and whatever. The second thing I feel they should ban are these sexual enhancing whatever. They are the reasons why men are now catching to my small girls because they can't handle themselves anymore. I think we need a law that will actually make them become also offenders, just like the principal offender is. Because if I was manipulated by you, you must go in with me because you are the one that has... you're the one who has pushed me to a point of becoming a perpetrator against a little girl because of the notion of the thought. But of course, there'll be a lot of debates around that because they'll say at the end of the day, the act was done with it by this one. But at the end of the day, we must look at trauma kind of induced cases whereby you look at where did it start from? How did it get here? And I think that kind of reporting will be better for the society because when you look at how the person go to act itself, it will help us know how to curtail this cancer that is going on now. Because if we're just going to start at the point where it has happened, we are not really doing justice to the whole process because we need to know how did it get there. Because for a girl to be raped, we must find out how did she get herself there. Maybe there were drugs involved. Maybe somebody put something in her bottle. We need to get to the point of that because if we're going to look at just a person and how we got to the act, then it's not going to be a thing. So for me, I think let's just cut them off completely. Let's have these people banned from the nation. Let them stop selling whatever they're selling. Found in the act. Let's get you behind bars. Secondly, the women and the men that conceal these issues, I feel they need also to pay. Because at the end of the day, you know that this has happened. Why are you not reporting as an adult? So the day we discover that you are actually aware of the vice, let's have you behind bars. We need you also to be answerable to the act because you're an accomplice in that matter. So we need a law that will really stipulate and make sure that these people are actually also made to pay for some of these crimes that are actually happening now.
Okay, interesting. So what are some of the recommendations you'd give in terms of laws? I know you spoke that there are certain laws right now which we have which don't fully protect or enable proper prosecution for most of these perpetrators and all.
Well, if we're going to just speak about kids, I think one of the things I would recommend is, first of all, let's remove bond at the police stage. Let's remove bail at the court stage for every sexual-related case. Guess what? I deal with a lot of kids that are traumatized. And I think I have had an opportunity to deal with women that have been raped. And I know how traumatized they get. So now imagine if an older woman can get that traumatized after being raped, seeing their offender outside. What more a child who has just reported that my uncle did this to me? It's funny that we haven't really pushed the agenda of using safe homes because if my child is abused in my home and the abuser is in the same house, how then are we protecting this little girl? The idea is that the law provides that the child should be removed from that house to a safer place. But of course, we don't have enough safe homes to make sure that the kids are away from that. So this now gets us to a point where a victim and an offender are being found in the same place. Sometimes it's not their father, it's a neighbor. So this neighbor is walking around free. And this child is like, but he's still walking around free. How do you then expect the child to really come out and maybe heal from that trauma? So for me, I would propose no bond. So once Kamugwira Kaidu, and while the investigation is going on, let them stay. Because first of all, we don't want to see them outside. We don't want to see them hurt, or even but they could actually go ahead and also abuse another child. So the safe place for them is to stay there. At the court level where they're now appearing before court, no bail until the matter is concluded. And if the person is innocent, let the law decide. If the person is indeed a perpetrator, let them go behind bars. But at least then, we would have dealt with trauma and how the victims... and then also, other than dealing with just the victims because of their trauma part, it will help us also deter will-be offenders. Because look, do you know why people are afraid of killing? Do you know why people are afraid of homicide cases? It's because they know it's not bailable. You've seen people that are appearing before court 4 years later, they're still in court, they're still being tried over their offense. So because of that, a lot of people are afraid of killing. So now people are okay to abuse or to defile because they know I can still do my act, come out, go back, and then I'll still be doing it from outside.
What's the maximum sentence for?
It depends. So it depends on how aggravated the matter is. But the maximum can go as far as the 50, what that was declared, I think 2-3 weeks ago. One of the magistrates, they induced a sentence of 50 years for an offender. So it is as much as how aggravated it is. So now look at a girl who has been defiled, then given an STI. It's even more aggravated than somebody who has just been defiled and the girl maybe has not even gone through, they haven't gotten any disease. Okay. So yeah.
So I know on social media there was a rise to say we bring back the death penalty and castration.
Castration, I don't know how that would suffice. But for me, naturally speaking, and maybe from a point of law and having an understanding, I know what would suffice is probably no bail, no bond. Maybe that would push an agenda. Castration, I don't see that as against the order of God. Of course, we're a Christian nation. I doubt they would go that direction.
So would like something like a death penalty be?
We already removed the death penalty when it comes to murder.
Yeah, so
Do you think we would bring it back for defilement?
Yeah.
I doubt it. But it would be a good line to try and a good thought of line to just try and pursue. Yeah, but I think no bond, no bail is something that would really push the agenda. Secondly, getting the accomplices also be part of the whole case. That would be good as well, because that would help people know that the next time I do this, I'll be part of and then I'll just be treated as the same as the principal offender. That would also help. So maybe other than no bond, no bail, having the person who also concealed the matter being part of the whole offense. We can maybe probably add other laws that maybe just protect girls entirely, boys and girls maybe in schools. If you have found that you don't have the safeguarding policy in your school, maybe you are reprimanded or maybe you are fined. Such things would also help get people to be very serious about the law and just protect the protection of girls and boys. Okay. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, it's been an interesting, sad conversation.
It's been all sorts of feelings.
Yeah, it's just bringing up a lot of thoughts. I think somebody wrote that all the reason now this speaks to especially older women. Yeah, when they get raped, somebody will be like, no, it's because of what they wore. However, I beg to differ and counter that. I think if somebody is vile, if somebody is evil, they are evil.
They're just evil. Nobody just wakes up and abuses a person. Nobody just wakes up and rapes a girl. They thought about it. They just have that animosity in them. So people, it has nothing to do with dress code. Because look, a 3-month-old baby will be abused. Is it about the diaper they wore? So this has nothing to do. It's about the minds of somebody. It's about the mental stage of somebody. You discover that most of these people needed lots of help. Like I said, some of them are also victims. So because they are victims of the same vice, they feel it's okay to do it on other people. So it has nothing to do with dress code. And this whole thing of societal victim blaming, I don't like it at all, because this is one of the reasons why people don't report. Because immediately I tell you I was raped, the first thing you look at is, do you have a bum? Do you have what? How do you look? How was your cleavage? And instead of you standing up for the victim, you begin to blame them. So victim blaming is one of the reasons why some people don't want to report, because at the end of the day, you become a laughing stock. You go to the police, you're just entering the place. Boyfriend wako. Just even the police. That's the reason why some of these trainings are very important, so that even the police, as they're handling the issues, they go beyond what they're just seeing there. And these funny comments are not very necessary. When you're dealing with a serious issue, you need to really look at it. This is life and death. You're dealing with people who are traumatized, people that need your help.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do we have, first things first, the Kwima books on body safety? Are they like available?
Yes, they are. They're actually in Bookwell, they're in Musimbi, they're in Grey Matter, and of course you could get in touch with us on the page and have your order. And what's amazing now is that the book 1 and book 2 have now been translated to local languages, 8 local languages. Okay. Yeah, so every child has an opportunity to look at some of the things. It speaks about privacy, why you should not keep secrets for older men or older women, why you cannot be friends with an adult. So it begins to expose kids to some of the issues that you wouldn't talk about directly, but the books begin to talk to them about. Why do you wear a swimming costume as a girl? Why do you hide certain parts? Why do you do what? Your bathroom is your private space. Your bed is your private space. If you see this going on, can you scream? If you see this going on, can you tell mommy? Don't keep secrets to your parents. So it begins to now expose kids to some of the things that may endanger them in the future, but at least we'll be able to curb them before they happen.
Yeah, okay. Okay, interesting. And another thought which just popped up just now is, do we have like helplines where somebody can call in case where they want to report such things? And then is it possible to report anonymously?
It is possible to actually report.
And what are some of the organizations which people can find on Facebook?
Okay, Lifeline support.
Yeah.
Lifeline basically deals with reporting, so you can easily just call them. It's a toll-free number. You call them, and then I don't want to mislead the people with the numbers. So
think
I'm
we'll
just
put it
making
on the
sure. Just
screen
make
and-
sure, just make sure that you get it right. So Lifeline Support does help with reporting, so both for kids and adults. So in case of GBV or in case of sexual abuse, you can call them up and they can help you. You have people that might deal with these issues, maybe minor issues like not really in its entirety, but maybe just a minor of it. People like World Vision. You have other NGOs like Child Justice. I think there are lots of other platforms, Child Forum. There are other places that you can report these matters to. And then if it gets really, really hard, come and report to me. Tell me about it, and I'll make sure that the matter is reported. Come to my page, let me know about it, and then I can help you report it.
Right. This has been an insightful, informative conversation.
Yeah.
And, hopefully, for those of you watching, you've picked up on a lot of things and how best you can be the safe space. I think there's a song where the songwriter says, "Ngate tu shimike valango kutemwa valange Yesu obe wabo." If you can't preach to them, show them. So be the safe space. When all the spaces are bad, be the safe space. You, me, each and every one of us have this mandate to be the safe space, Ubuntu. Let's protect each other. Let's protect the boy child. Let's protect the girl child. Let's protect our environment and our nation so that we don't have all these vile, terrible things happening. Because we are the people. We are the nation. We are what? We are the community. So let's create safe spaces. Yeah. So from me, Dennis Umubanga Kabwe and Rabecca
Rabecca.
Makwele Mulenga.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.